here into High Hill. And to be honest with you, near Truxton here, north of 70, in between Truxton and High Hill, that's the highest hail signature I've seen so far. So that bears watching, although that's moving in a less than favorable environment, because you had in Lincoln County had some pretty good rain early morning. But the fact that it rained all morning, Scott, in these areas, and we're still seeing, opportunities where, hey, we're still seeing some pretty good thunderstorms that have 30,000-foot cloud tops that are going, at least at this point, into Lincoln County. And I'll tell you what, we were tracking severe weather this morning, all morning long. We had 8:30 to 9:30 all morning long. We had tornado signature, really wind, and how often do we mention, hey, if it rains in the morning, well, it's going to mitigate the threat. Well, it rained, and you're still getting large hail, and that's at the very least. And that's why I think we're really paying close attention to what happens, not only in the city right now, where that boundary is, and what's going to happen where Lance is driving down 44.
Yeah, and I think as we go through the remainder of the day, from looking at as a structural view of what we look at from a supercell type thunderstorm, this does have that look, right? It has that hook, if you will. So it's got the look of an intense storm capable of producing a tornado in an environment where an outflow boundary had not pushed down and we had warm, humid air feeding into this versus rain-cooled air. This most likely would be doing something really bad in southern portions of Madison County. As it is, we've had some rotation reported in the clouds. We've had some lowering in the clouds. We have not seen anything touch down. And honestly, I don't think we've had any reports across the area where we've had the severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings in the last hour and a half or so from St. Louis on to the east. We haven't had any damage reports out of there. But the tornado warning's in effect until 2:45 here in Madison County. We still want you in your safe spot, especially, I would say, if you're south of Interstate 270 here. Okay, south of 270, down between 270 and 255, and even into Collinsville, Lakeview Acres. This is the part of the storm just north of the St. Clair County line that tends to have more of the look, if you will, of the potential of producing a tornado. Otherwise, there's some hail in here, there's some gusty winds in there, and that's the potential for some problems there. The Skywarn networks have been activated across the area, and so far we have not heard a lot from them. Now, in St. Louis City and St. Louis County and into St. Charles County, at the moment now, we're getting a little bit of a break. See the boundary down there? It's right into southern portions of St. Louis County and into northern Jefferson County, stretching over to northern Monroe, southern portions of St. Clair County. That's the boundary we're watching. We go back a little farther to the west and notice these storms out west that Gary was just talking about. Coming into Troy, good hail signature here west of Troy. Good hail signature there as you go into western portions of Warren County as well. And potentially, we will be looking at some strong winds with these storms. That's the Hawk Point area, and that is heading up towards Cave, Missouri, heading up towards Highway 61. The worst of the hail here would likely stay to the west of Troy, at least with the northern part of the storm. As we go a little farther to the south here and to the southwest, this part of the storm may eventually get you in the Troy area. This is in western Warren County, just south of 70 mostly, and it's west of Warrenton right now, and it is moving towards the east-northeast. Now, the one thing about this storm that we want to point out, okay, you can kind of see here, even though you're not in the warning in Gasconade County, kind of see that little strip of moisture there. This storm is closer to that outflow boundary, I think. I think it kind of arcs back from southern portions of, or northern portions of Jefferson County, south St. Louis County, arcs back. And if that boundary is able to interact with this area, because just south of this storm, it is very warm and it is very humid. If that boundary is able to interact with that, this storm takes it to a new level of intensity and problems for us as we go through. So that's going to be through the afternoon hours. We're going to be watching this area out to our west for additional development. At the same time, we're tracking all of what we're seeing here off to the east of St. Louis. And again, the tornado warning, the biggest concern here is that tornado warning that is in Madison County right now, small area in Madison County. The severe thunderstorm warning there, northern St. Clair, northern Madison County. And, you know, even into Clay County now, we have a severe thunderstorm warning until 2:45 on the Illinois side. So there's some gusty winds with that storm over there and potentially a bit of hail as well. And I'm not so sure that storm has been, you know, that the storms from this morning, Gary, have had a chance to really work over this area. You kind of see, you know, it's south of the Clay County line, but you kind of see that little hook there that also raises concern, especially if that storm were to take more of a northeast motion. It could be a problem southeast of Flora, Illinois. So we're continuing to track this afternoon. The tornado warning is not likely to be extended in Madison County. It runs until 2:45, but at this point, it's not likely that they're going to extend it, Gary, as we go into the rest of the afternoon. Severe thunderstorm warning, that's for Clay County right now. And so, Gary, I just lost all of the weather computer.
Yeah, I would agree. I've got the same problem, old bud. I will say that they're freezing and they're not doing any movement at the moment.
So why don't we?
I don't know if that's a system-related issue. I would bet, and sometimes that just it feels like we're clicking back on. Let's do a little discount double check. Let's see if I can get her moving. I can't.
No, I can't find any ports. It's got no ports available.
Yeah, sometimes that refreshes, though, and so it's not out of the question.
So again, you're looking at the storm over in Clay County. There it comes.
Yeah, I'll do some recon. This happens to me. When you work at odd hours like I do, you just kind of wait for it to come back, and that's what happens. So sometimes this happens.
It did, and it looks like it's coming back.
There we go.
But we got to log in again.
Well, yeah, I'm still doing a little recon as well. It's doing the old circle spin. But what we can tell you, as you probably can see, is we've got a couple of things. And one thing that we're going to continue to monitor here, as you talked about that specifically, and I don't even know what's up behind me, but I do want to share a couple of things here as we have at least some reported damage right now that we've had, that we've at least got from Marine Fire District said, you know, there's at least some damage there. So that's one of the things. It looks like you're doing some movement, so that's a positive. But we're doing, Marine Fire District said that there is some report of some damage. Now, they reported it as a tornado online. There's no substantiated reports of that. However, it is indicative of what this storm system has been capable of, regardless of whether or not a tornado touched down, because those things will be surveyed later unless we see a tornado, unless there's a debris ball on radar. A lot of the times we see this in a unconfirmed fashion, so that's important to note as we focus exactly on what's happening, at least at this point. Now, from a standpoint of what's going on, you know, we still are looking at the potential for a lot of this, you know, a couple of these storms to kind of go through the area. And now, Scott, I think you're dialed back in. I want you to kind of point out, to me, what's interesting now is that rain has pushed out of the area as we look at that little small area that you said is not going to be moved once again. That specific, you know, they're not going to move that downstream. What I think is interesting now is look at that boundary and that outflow. Look north of Sullivan, you know. You see that start to lift northward again. It's
already started.
It doesn't take long, and that's where it's really going to heat up, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's once we get that heat and humidity, once this boundary starts to, you know, once this storm that's over the metro area and to the east goes on by, this boundary that's been put down from not only the activity we've just dealt with, but this is also a larger boundary that has been inclusive of the storms from earlier this morning, the wee hour storms, kind of effectively pushing the front back to the south and holding the warm front from getting back up here. But as soon as these storms go by, you can already see the boundary down here along 50. It's already starting to creep back to the north.